All right, pas de deux. Welcome back, Dawn Melanie.
Part two,
And
yeah.
yeah. And for those listening, welcome back to the second part of the show for this particular subject. So we've been chatting music industry, brand, the sort of idea, what is success exactly? You need to determine your own success. I like that. Success
I
is
think it's a
different
huge
for
thing, yeah.
yeah, sure. And then we ended off with a Tony Montana Scarface talk. It's
Just because
the
why not?
Yeah, because why not? And also the misery of I think what I feel sorry for his character is that he sort of reached the top and then realized it wasn't everything he thought it was going to be, you know, and
Yeah.
that's very sad. So
So
I think
often the
that's where I was.
case, so
Yeah, well, that's where I was going with it. I studied when I studied music. The head of the drum department was a gentleman called Adam Bushell, an
yeah.
absolute
Yeah.
guru, and a great drummer. Just I watch this guy. But I remember him saying, because he was head of drums and he used to sort of say, and kids would come in frustrated all the time, me included, just like you've been giving these things to do, these patterns and stuff. And he's like, man, like what are what's going? And he just, I remember him just saying, guys, this is difficult. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it, and you just have to. The journey is the best bit. You have to enjoy that. If you can't enjoy the drive, don't do it. It was like that journey to wherever you want to be is the best bit. Particularly with art and that development. And if you said it in the previous episode, that sort of getting where you need to be and sort of factoring in all those things. So it's yeah, I've always tried to sort of listen to that advice, and because I don't take it, I often get frustrated with sort of my progress and stuff as everyone does, and particularly in art. But you just got to, the best bit is if I consider where I was with the radio 2 years ago, it's considering now I'm sitting here with you doing doing podcast stuff. Before it was like, welcome to Berg Studio. and, the, and the next song is Rolling Stones. They play a Rolling Stones song. You know what I mean? So considered to
Yeah.
now, it's pretty, as you said, you just got to sort of be pleased with your progress, I guess.
And also, what are the things that make memories for you? Like, I think for most people, it isn't one moment of huge success that is really the memory that holds. It's those little moments in between. I think about like hanging out at Splashy Fen with you this year.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one moment that really stands out to me. It was really late on the Saturday night, and we were meandering our way back down to campsite. And we walked past a group of friends of mine who were all jamming or at least sitting around a campfire. And we kind of said, okay, let's have a bit of a jam. And I just
Oh
saw you
yeah,
light up like a
yeah.
light bulb. You're like, all right, I want to get my ukulele.
Come on, yeah.
And I
That's
was like,
great.
I love that. That moment for me stood out so much because I saw like a light come on in you that was just brilliant.
Mm.
And it was so wonderful to see this like enthusiasm bubbling out of you for
Yeah,
this moment. And those moments like hold so much emotion, and they become more a part of who we are than I think moments of great success necessarily do.
sure. The Splashy's the first festival I've been to where I've enjoyed the location and the people more than the entertainment. The entertainment was great, don't get me wrong, but like the spirit of Splashy, like the people, like we had this chat. It's
Yeah.
like, just waking up in the morning and then there's a dude walking past with his fly fishing rod and people going for a hike or they're on their bicycles and hanging out with their kids, or there's it's very special for that. And that was that, yeah, I'll remember that fondly, just sitting there, ukulele, absolutely drunk up my brains as well. Sort of when we were singing, there was a guy and a lady whose names I can't remember. Do you remember who was playing with? There's two friends of
Yeah,
yours.
yeah.
And
I know who you were playing with, absolutely. You were
yeah,
playing with my friend Josh.
yeah.
And Josh he's part of a band called the Band, and they are
Okay.
currently taking SA's rock scene by
By st
storm,
by
certainly from a
storm.
live performance.
Awesome.
Totally, from a live performance perspective, they are electrifying to watch. So
Awesome.
yeah, that is who we call him, Josh the Elder.
Okay.
And then the girl that you were jamming with, that's Jess Bedingfield. Her dad was the lead of the hairy-legged lentil eaters back in the day, and she's part of many bands. She's one of those people who's been in and out of like more bands than I can
Oh
count on one
yeah.
hand, and
Oh, and she's
she's
sassy
really
as well. She was really good fun. Really
super
good fun.
sassy, dude. She's loaded
Yeah.
with personality. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
amazing people to jam with, really.
Yeah, by the campfire and in the mountains of KZN, just fantastic. Really, really, really good. Yeah, yeah, I loved that.
These are the moments that make memories. And for
Sure.
me, like I started working as part of that festival like almost a decade ago. It's been 9 years. This coming Splashy next year will be a decade for me that I've been participating with creating
Hmm.
that vibe, that authentic experience. And I
Yeah.
think, you know, I've seen a lot of act festival, some of them brilliant, some of them not. Some of them that we thought would be fantastic fell flat. Uh,
It
and
is like that.
I've really,
Red light fever
yeah,
happens.
yeah, and I've really it's the vibe, that authentic human connection
Mm,
experience that is really what is making that festival something so
mm,
special.
yeah.
And us that's kind of taking us back to what we were talking about earlier with how artists these days, that's what you're really trying to connect with, right? Is that
Mm,
authentic human being, and to have a
true.
real moment of connection with somebody. And us,
It,
I think even more so in a world so full of digital interaction, so full of, artificial intelligence, so full
mm,
of cover songs. Having an authentic experience with someone and really connecting with a human being and having an emotional connection with somebody, that's something we're going to need more and more and more of in order to stay
mm.
human.
Sure, sure. And it's a very human experience in a lot of ways. I've been to many festivals over the years, and generally they just put up a tent and put in some sound, and the way you go, and thing. But with Splashy, sort of, because I was there with BDI, sort of with Bronwyn, who put up like the
The
big
BDI
feet.
crew.
The beady eyes, yeah, yeah, yeah. Sort of nutters, a lot of them. But anyway, the Phoenix and the main stage, and like with your thing with the, I don't know if did you did the flowers, didn't you? And these sort of like if you're on mushrooms, the sort of flowers you'd see, you know,
Yeah,
in a
so
thing. I
I
think I
create
love
I
those.
create the art and decor for the treehouse stage, and the
Yeah,
treehouse
treehouse.
stage is kind of this psychedelic fairy tale
Oh,
land that I try and
amazing.
create, with like
Yeah,
giant glowing mushrooms, um, enormous butterflies flying all over the place, and giant dandelion heads that are actually
amazing.
lanterns, and like,
Sure.
yeah, I try to create a pretty magical space for people to go
Mm,
and lose themselves in, whether you are a kid looking to just journey into fairy tale wonderland, or whether you're an adult who's, maybe drunk too much or taken something here and there. I'm
yeah.
looking to create a space you would feel at home in,
Just
and feel
sit down and give it 10 minutes. Yeah. One of those. It was
and
that
like
space for me. Yeah.
let the magic work its way into your
Yeah.
DNA. That's what I'm trying
Yeah.
to get to there.
Yeah,
So yeah,
sure.
that's my space for sure.
But it is in your interview with me a few weeks back, we did discuss that sort of element, that bringing in that sort of family element, which has, I think when you do have kids around, adults tend to just relax a bit more. I think in a way, and I saw it there because I think I've been at festivals, and it's 3 days away from your life, and people get absolutely mangled, which is fine. Each their
Mm,
own. There's nothing wrong with that. But with this, there was, just because I think having like families there, and with that energy, that family energy is actually quite relaxing in a lot of sense, because you get the
absolutely.
kids playing. You can't really be a buffoon either. So there's a sort of balance there, which is great,
And I
and
think,
you can
yeah,
just enjoy the
I think
space a bit more.
absolutely. And I think making it a family friendly festival like they have done, and they've focused a lot on doing that,
Mm,
has certainly transformed it from what it used to be known as, which was kind of like a drunken brawl,
mm,
to what it is today, which is a very, very uplifting and wholesome experience. And like
Mm,
every single person I spoke to, and they all kind of said that they feel like they come to Splashy these days to find themselves again and to go take a break from the world, get back into who they really are, and then
mm,
they go back into the world feeling more themselves and like they can cope with the rest of
mm.
the year because they've
Sure.
found some kind of balance and
Mm.
grounding there.
And just to be a
And
bit
every
silly
single,
as well, just to be a
yeah,
bit so like a fun silly, not like drunken silly, but like fun silly, wear a silly hat,
yeah,
you sort
dress
of,
up as a character,
yeah,
you
sort
know,
of, yeah,
jump in on the parade, have some
mm,
fun.
yeah,
Kind of remember your inner child, I suppose, is really what it's about. Like
hmm
it's really about connecting with who you are when you strip away all the stress that we carry and you strip
Sure.
away all the kind of modern bullshit that we preoccupy ourselves with and you're just human for a minute. And that's why
Mm,
their catchphrases, like it's the happiest festival and stay human is the
mm.
catch, like the slogan for Splashy Fen is stay human. And I think, who's more human than a kid, really? And so
Yeah.
we've all got to hold on to our inner child in order to survive in the modern
Mm,
world. Splashy Fen helps people to rediscover that part of
mm,
themselves. And we originally, when we started this, we planned to chat about kind of the original music scene, whether it's getting lost or not. And it's a really tough one. I know that over the last 2 years, Splashy Fen has made a dedicated decision to actively encourage the acts who perform there to play at least 75% originals.
mhm,
And it's been a tough one because the acts themselves aren't necessarily capable of that, and they're not necessarily bringing that to the table, even though we're all contractually obligated to do that. We all sign a contract saying that that's what we'll do when we perform at this festival. I think a lot of the acts still come with a larger body of covers than they do with originals because the
mhm,
rest of the music scene in South Africa has been encouraging that for so long that there hasn't been space for the development of original music. And so I think that I know myself and Stu, who is the main sort of organizer at the festival, him and Fuzz and myself, we've discussed over the years that how do we motivate, how do we create that ethos again in this country? And how do we motivate bands and musicians to bring their own stuff to the table?
mm,
And it's Stu's perspective on it was we just have to continue to create a culture of original music. And I kind of was like, okay, I see where he's going with this. He's not the kind of guy who's going to, stand there, watch an act play and go, oh, you didn't play 75% originals. I'm going to throw you off the stage. He's
mm,
not going to do that. He's very diplomatic in how he'll handle it. So I appreciated how he chose to look at it and say, you know what, we'll just keep pursuing this. We'll just keep encouraging. We'll just keep motivating the acts that come to this festival to show up and shine with their original stuff and keep reminding them that that's what we're
mm.
here for, is their human, their real human self,
Sure.
not just another cover and another cover.
Mm,
And I kind of got behind that idea and I thought, okay, cool. Well, I'm going to go back into the world and I'm going to start doing like songwriters workshops where I'm going to encourage new artists to pursue originality. And that's my way of creating authenticity and creating some new original scene in this country. Um, and it's a tough one, I kind of like it's hard when pubs and restaurants really just want another cover act, to then
yeah.
put time into originals.
Well, the
When
the
the only paycheck you're
restaurants.
getting,
Sorry, Karen. Oh, sorry, apologize. Go on.
no, I was just gonna say when like the only paycheck you're getting is like a bit of money out of a bar and they only want to hear covers, you're not going to put your time into creating originals if that's where the music scene is at right now.
Sure.
So we have to have festivals and venues that encourage originality in order for it
Mm.
to be created and exist in this country.
Yeah, it's well, I'll tell you this much: the restaurants and bars actually putting the cover scene out of business because they're demanding cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And it's something
Yeah.
I just got out of. It's just like, I'm not going to sit Giovanni for 3 hours playing for a couple hundred rand. It's not happening. and
Yeah.
I sit there. I played at a golf course once, and I got paid, and I charged 2K for the after. It was 45 minute sets to an hour.
Mm.
It's a good 3 hours of music, give or
Yeah.
take. And the guy never had me back, and I asked him, like, did you think it was bad? Or, he said, no, I loved what you did, but I, this guy's, I got a guy playing tomorrow for beers and 150 rand for the day, for the
Yeah.
afternoon. So I was like, cool. And I left it at that. There, you can't. And I refused to. I refused to go. And it was actually when I called it a day. I was just like, I'm not doing this. I'm not negotiate. I'm not gonna go. As I said, I'm not playing Snow Patrol for no money. Like, so you want me to play Snow Patrol rock set? You gotta fucking pay me, like, to do that crap. I don't
Yeah.
want. It's not something I want to do. It's like admin. No one wants to do admin jobs, but they do it because they get paid to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like that. So, but going back to the originals things, and I agree with you, is that the festivals, I think, are the important harbors of promoting originals bands, because I think people now are getting their fix for originals bands at festivals. So as before in
Absolutely.
Johannesburg, you'd go to like Rumors, or sort of railways, or these sort of places. I remember Tempos back early in the early 2000s, in Johannesburg, was this Sunday. It was like a Sunday jaw. And they used to have originals bands and covers bands and stuff. And originals bands could play there as well. And there was a scene. You remember the 90s, the original scene of the
Mm.
90s. And those bands are all still going. Your Nude Girls and your Wonderboom and what have you. It's still going, and people, and the nostalgia around those bands. They had a big thing here at Sonage the other day, a few weeks back, and it was just it was Boo. Remember Boo, Vonderboom, Springbok New Girls. It was like a
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
90s porno of originals bands of South Africa. It was just pure nostalgia. And the guys went through and the one guy said, I went through for nostalgia. It was a nostalgic night and a great
Yeah.
night. But again, like those bands, there's this generation's losing that. And I think my favorite act at Splashy was Younger, and it was cool. It was really good. So it was really entertaining. But it was all like playoffs of, because it's DJ, essentially, it's a DJ act, but it's also, he was taking
Yeah.
hooks from pop
He's like an
songs and rock
instrumental
songs.
DJ.
Yeah, but he wasn't. Whereas his originality was portraying these bands, but he was, all the hooks were from other, like Oasis and all these sort of
Mm.
popular
Mm.
popular sort of music sort of acts over the last sort of few decades, which I found interesting. So yeah, what I think there should be. Whereas I get Splashy, for example, I need to go the other ones, does need to have people return. And I was watching bands play covers, and the main tent, that beer tent, right by the treehouse stage. That one, that was
Yeah.
probably the busiest. Drove that chugged the most people, I'd say, and a lot of it was cover songs and that. So it is the market's the market. I
Mm.
guess, and it's sort of, as you say, Stu's got to sell tickets as well, to keep
Yeah.
to keep the ship afloat. So I respect that. So, how about, maybe a small dedicated tent to originals bands, 100%
Well,
originals.
kind of that's what the treehouse stage is, I suppose, is
Mm,
largely the area where sort of new and authentic bands tend to be focused in the treehouse stage area.
yep.
But I also understand that he kind of he has no control over what a band actually gets up and plays on the day. He is solidly in his contract saying you got to play 75% originals. That's what we expect. As a
Ah,
festival, that's what we would like you to do.
okay.
And then if a band gets up there on the day and plays 75% covers, in the
Mm,
moment, there's not much he can do as the organizer,
sure.
right? He's kind of just got to let the festival run once it's underway.
Mm,
Um, and just go in again next year and say, hey guys, remember that 75% original?
yeah, yeah. See,
And
I didn't
continue to
realize that.
encourage it.
I didn't realize that. I thought maybe, in my, sort of in the back of my head, I thought maybe that, like, please play more covers. We need to keep people here, play songs they know. Ah, that's interesting.
It's quite the opposite. Yeah, it's quite the opposite. He's really made a stand. Splashy is a festival. I'm not saying just Stu because it's not just Stu who organizes that festival.
Mhm.
But Stu and his team, Stu and Fuzz. Fuzz is kind of like a background character, but he's hugely the second part of the core organizers of Splashy Fen is Stu and Fuzz. Fuzz is just the quiet guy, whereas Stu's the guy in front. Um, but they really have made such a solid stand over the last 2 years to really hold to that. Come on, guys, play more originals. We want to see you show up.
Sure.
We want to hear your music. And he's just holding to continuing to encourage that. And I
Mhm.
respect that hugely. As someone who's played at that festival, I think 7 years in a row now I've played that festival, and every year I play all originals because I'm stubborn like that.
Mhm.
Um, but
Well, it's the Dawn
I
Melanie thing as well. You got an album to
that is
promote,
part of my
and
brand. It's
yeah, yeah.
it's also part of my brand is
Mm.
being original. It's a huge part of the brand I've created actually is just being a completely original musician. And so I've held to that so strongly. And I really respect and will always support Stu and Fuzz and the festival that they're putting together because they are one of the few that are standing up and saying, yes, absolutely, play original music. We need
Mm.
this in our world. And we
Sure.
need really authentic acts and authentic human beings. And that's what's going to keep us kind of growing as a
Mm.
community and growing as people. So, yeah, I'm fully behind what they're doing. And
Mm.
recently, in one of those moments where I was feeling a bit down about things, and I was like, oh no, like the music scene is just dying and there's no really good venues, especially in
Mhm.
KZN. We have like maybe two. And I was
I
feeling a
love
bit
that
bleak about
rant.
it
Oh,
all.
it's the best rant, isn't it? It's like this is the
I was
best
feeling
rant.
quite down about it.
Mm.
And I ended up going onto Instagram and I suppose what everyone calls doom scrolling, where you're just kind of like scrolling through crap, right?
Mm.
And I came across a post from an organization called Concerts SA. And I've performed at a Concerts SA show before at the KZN Art Gallery. And it was one of my best paying shows. They paid me really well for like a half an hour set, and it was fantastic original, really artistic. That's what they were supporting and encouraging. And I came across a post from them where they have been in the last 2 or 3 years funding and building a fund for festivals in South Africa and for touring musicians. So they've got like a mobility fund, which they're currently putting out there now, which is to develop a touring circuit in this country and actually fund musicians to tour. And they've got a festival fund where they're funding new festivals and they're specifically promoting original music and they're looking for original artists. They're not keen to fund a cover band to tour around South Africa. They're looking to fund original musicians and
Mm.
not just South Africa, they're looking at Southern Africa as a whole.
Mhm.
So instantly I was like, I'm not alone. There is
Um,
actually support for original music. There is actually someone out there saying, come on, guys, we'll help you to push this. We'll help this to grow in South Africa.
mm.
And I just do have to say that Concerts SA, up until very recently, has been entirely funded by the Norwegian government. So it's been the Norwegian government pumping money for the last decade into South African music.
Okay.
And that's like, you sit there going, well, why? South African music is really diverse. It's culturally diverse. It's really fantastic music, and the scene needs to survive. And that's being recognized by countries outside of our own. And I think it's only
Sure.
recently that SAMRO has got on board with assisting in the funding of this particular enterprise because now I'm seeing, for example, with this mobility fund, that it's Concerts SA in partnership with SAMRO and other South African organizations. So it seems like there's starting to be a bit of local collaboration on actually trying to keep the original South African music scene alive and moving.
Sure.
And that gave me huge, huge upliftment in my moment of downness.
Mm.
So yeah, you
I
can
think
bet your
even
bottom dollar.
like within the black community, I think within like EDM dance, the dance genres, Kwaito or like deep house and all that sort of DJing, as great as all that is, we've gone from sort of township jazz to just DJing. I mean, we had bands like
Yeah.
Stimela and Hugh Masekela and Miriam Makeba and that, to
Rafiki Zolo.
guys doing that, and
Yeah.
cool, there's space for that, but when that becomes the base of sort of popular music in a country, I think between that, also I think other thing, it's the you know the I think the a big problem of the sort of Saturday, and this, I don't want to say they're a problem, that's unfair, but the Saturday sort of Boerewors and beer rugby crowd, as
Mm.
well, they don't care what's on. Oh, there's a band, there's this dude there with a laptop and a Stratocaster he barely plays and sings karaoke, and if people think it's a live act, you know what I mean? And those guys are doing it because they don't have to split the money. I get it. So they've split the money with the band. Because a six-piece band will earn the same money as a guy on a laptop. At a show.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
So you've
The
got
fun doesn't
those.
increase just because you got a drummer.
Sure, sure. They're like, this is what we pay if you've got a 10-piece band. They don't sort of value of the sort of big band or anything like that.
Mm.
So
Mm.
that's going into it. And I think, and again, sort of another issue is I think youngsters don't have popular culture like they used to be. I think I saw what was his name? Remember Vanilla Ice? Back in the day, sort of, what's his name? Sort of Van Winkle, I think his surname is. But anyway, Vanilla Ice. But he just said the nineties
Yeah,
was
yeah.
so the nineties was the last great decade of popular culture. Because it
Mm.
was just before the internet hits. If you think what came out in the 90s with grunge and gangster rap and sort of house music and the rave culture and ecstasy pills and that whole thing happened, it was a crazy, colorful decade. And then sort of streaming
Absolutely.
comes. And if I think how ignorant I was about music, like, man, I was really into alternative and Smashing Pumpkins and that's, and I don't listen to that crap. Like, we all picked a tribe in a way, in a team and stuff.
Absolutely. You're totally
You know,
right.
and it sort of dominated the way we dressed, the way we looked at the world, and it was. But now you'll speak to a kid in their 20s or their teens, and they go, "What you listening to?" Oh, this is Kind of Blue, Miles Davis. And it's got kids like 50, and you're like, wow, that's really impressive. I didn't even kind of blue was so but I didn't really have access to these records either. For your parents,
Yeah.
you had access to what you could afford, so you bought things you knew of and the thing, but also what your parents were listening to. So if your parents were listening to jazz, you didn't listen to jazz, and stuff there, maybe the radio, and
Mm.
that's where FM was so important. But I think now kids are so complex in what they like, and they got their sort of Spotify's playlists and stuff. And I think they sort of go and they got this such variety coming at them. It's cheap, it's free. I mean, buying a CD when I was a teenager was so expensive. Well, it was like 100,
And
like,
also, it's a whole experience, man. Do you remember going into Look and Listen and they'd have like listening stations where you could put on your headphones and you could
yeah,
like listen to albums at Look and Listen before
sure.
you even bought them?
Yeah,
Like, it
it
was
was
a huge
great.
culture around
Yeah.
that.
And
And
you go in two,
you know,
three
I think
times to listen to it before you bought it, you know?
100% because that was your only $100 you'd
Yeah.
earned off like whatever chores you did,
Sure.
your paper run. But I think that like there was a whole subculture, like subcultures that music was so deeply tied to the character of, like
Mm.
there were the goth kids and the grunge kids and the punk kids and like the pop kids who were all pretending to be Spice Girls but there was like
Yeah, awesome.
there were, like you said, entire cultures around it. It affected how we dressed. It created individual tribes where we found our people, like
Mm.
through what music we were all commonly sharing. And it like really definitely colored the groups of people we surrounded ourselves with and,
Sure.
the venues we hung out at. And
But
it's
also we sought that music out. And if you take the original scene in South Africa then in the 90s, it was so special. It was just all these great bands came out. at the time. My favorite was Amisham. I remember them fondly. Loved going to watch. I think largely because they were so they were Engelsmanner mainly. Sort of, I could really sort of connect to that. You know what I mean? Because a lot of
Yeah,
bands I watched were sort of Afrikaans and stuff. There was nothing wrong with that, but obviously it's that sort of cultural connection where they were sort of singing
yeah.
about. And Amisham's obviously, well, it's actually Amersham. It's a place in North London or West London. It's actually an area of London. But you sort of I could sort of connect with them, but as well like saying Afrikaans acts like Valen Swart I saw many times,
Mm.
and he's probably still is the coolest guy I've seen on stage. Like sit there, I remember he'd be playing his guitar and singing the song. I couldn't understand a word he was saying, but he would have this burning cigarette in the top of the neck of the guitar, just slowly
It
sort
is
of burn.
capo. Yeah.
You take a thing, put it back in. You know what I mean? It's just so cool and the whole thing. And like, I totally bought into the scene and that. And I
Yeah.
think that's what's missing now. Essentially, I think youngsters have just so much access to me. If you wanted to find me, it's easier to go to a gig than actually buy and cheaper to buy a CD or and
Mm.
stuff like that, and that sort of cultural link. And I think the bands now, because there's so many good youngsters out there, particularly Joburg and Pretoria, now doing amazing things, great songwriters. And there's a couple platforms left for them to play, and there are kids going out to watch, but not like it used to be. I
Yeah.
remember taking when I was in my Memories Jam Trio days. My brother was in town, and I took him to a gig. I was playing at Rumors, and my brother's memories of Rumors was getting there for the festival days, getting there at midday, and sort of leaving at 2 in the morning. On the back of an ambulance. Because they were cold poisoning. You know, my brother was like, "Where's the kids? There's no." It was all the musos, their plus
Yeah.
ones, and people in their sort of late 30s, 40s, and he's like, "Where are the kids?" And that's a good question. Where are the kids? And so we've looked
Yeah.
into all sorts of things like economic kids. Money is if it's so expensive now, it can't be cheap to go out. As a 20-year-old, sort of on your sort of pulling pints
Mm.
for a living. So there's that. Economic Uber is another one. I think so going. I'm not saying people should go out drinking and driving, but there's no cheap alternative to Uber or
Yeah.
Bolt.
Yeah.
So that's a problem. And
Mm.
then also, kids are watching. I don't think it's that they're not into these acts. It's just they're watching it from home. Home is amazing now.
100%.
Well, for me in the night, home was
Who would have
prison.
thought?
My room was a
Yeah.
prison. My house was a prison, and my parents were the wardens. Yeah, you can't go there, and to get out was just, and now it's just, you got a TV in your room. You're like, oh, should we play the Wii, the PlayStation, or the Xbox? You got the internet.
Yeah.
I mean,
Should we just
it's
watch Netflix for the night,
well, to take dating like Tinder and Bumble and all these things. You don't even need to go out for, like, as a man. You don't even need to leave your house to meet women anymore. It's sort of
Where's the motivation?
yeah, exactly. I could just go swipe left or right, and you can start talking to people. And yeah, I think all these things have sort of congregated into this one thing, and yeah, it's sort of I think it's having an effect now, and yeah, I think we need to have some serious discussions. I at the right now think it's a better use of your time to if for a musician to promote your act, work on your brand, you have good solid music videos. I think we've gone back to the music video again,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and
I think music videos are coming back huge.
sure, have a good product for the music video, and just push the brand online.
Mhm.
Is playing. I've interviewed metal bands who play twice a year. They just don't see the point of playing anymore, and they just work on
Yeah.
writing now. That's right, and so it has
You
changed
know,
in
the
that sense.
one thing I can say to anyone out there who's listening, young or old, one of the really valuable reasons for going to a live show is that things will happen at a live show that do not happen anywhere else.
Mm,
There's like songs that are played and that you get to listen to live. You will hear a version of that song that you're not going to hear on Spotify.
mm,
You're going to hear something. that no one else will ever get to hear it exactly like that. Like, no matter how much a band is rehearsed, there's an interaction that goes on between the audience that is there, whether it's 3 people or 300 or 3,000 makes no difference. There is an interaction that goes on between the musician on stage and the audience member. And so, you being there, you were creating something unique. You were creating something that cannot be replicated. You can't just go and stream it again.
Mm,
If you missed it, you missed it. You're never going to get to have that
yeah.
experience. And whoever was there, they got something special. And I
Mm,
think that's what we need to try and remember and promote about live shows over just listening to
mm,
it streamed or just, watching a video on YouTube, is that you as the audience are part of a unique and original experience, something that you get to have with that particular band and that particular artist, and something that you get to feel and remember and carry with you, that whoever wasn't there, they don't get that.
sure. And I had that with the Rand show concerts every year because, I was in that sort of weird phase when that scene was really kicking off here in South Africa. Was I was like 15, 16, 17, where you're kind of old enough to go up, but you're not old enough, to go anywhere. So the Rand show gigs were extremely important, for a lot of teenagers to go through, and those were fantastic shows. They were a day, start at
Yeah,
midday and
yeah,
that's end at midnight. It was like 12 hours of bands, and and
yeah,
you go get a couple of beers and get pissed, with your friends. And it was a very, it was probably it was the show of the year. And yeah, there was that experience. It wasn't only just the music, it was hanging out with people you don't get to hang out with. You don't get to meet. You're
mm,
seeing people sort of at their worst and at their best.
mm,
Meet, sort of as a young man, meeting girls at a gig, and sort of go because everyone will congregate and from other
yeah,
areas, and yeah, they were outside your school, and so just that sort of expansion of what you how you view the world. And they're important. And I think this is where festivals, and it's funny how festivals have become so big. Take the ultra
mm,
experiences and that, and I think essentially it's sort of, I think to the detriment of the local gig. But
mm,
they have it's where the originals bands get to shine and actually get a
yeah,
crowd. And there's the Josie Blues Fest next week. I went last year, and it was absolutely jam packed full of people, young and
yeah,
old. Yeah, and it was
yeah,
interesting. The blues rock bands seem to be doing well in Johannesburg at the moment. They were. We'll see you out there, but you sort of headlines of Dan Platanskis and stuff. But yeah,
mm,
yeah, I don't know. There's no solution. It's just it's evolution, isn't it? As I think we've sort of discovered.
yeah.
There's just it's the way
I
it
think it's
is
just
now.
remembering as well that, yeah, festivals are marketing an experience, right? It's
Mhm.
not just the bands that are playing, but they're marketing an experience that you get to have. And that's what you're talking about when you talk about the Rand Festival, or here in KZN, it would have been the Royal Show. Um, it was an experience as a whole thing that was marketed.
Mhm.
And that's what we need to try and remember to do, even as individual musicians. When you are putting on a tour, or when you are, doing even like local shows, you've got to create an experience of some kind. There
Yeah.
has to be a continuity and an ambience that people want to get participate in and be part
Mhm.
of.
Mhm.
So I think that's a valuable kind of point to make, is that these festivals that are having such huge success, that are selling out, they're marketing a whole experience. And we as original artists, as independent artists, we've got to try and figure out how to do that on a smaller scale.
Dawn, we're out of time. Awesome work. Thank you
Great
so
way to end
much.
this particular episode.
Yeah, let's end this episode. And thank you so much. And yeah, tune in for more with Dawn and Sean right after this. Go to the next episode. Listen, listen, listen. Catch you now, Dawn.